Alrighty. Well, um, I'm in Perth. I wanted to have a shower, but the washroom is closed. They're not supposed to have it closed up until the 15th, but they often do that. So, anyway, they closed it early. So, there you go. It's closed up. So, I'm getting a head start on my accumulating some layers of dirt anyway as an insulating thing for the winter. I am. I'm ahead of the game. So, I am. Anyway, oh, yeah. What I want to talk about right now, though, isn't really the shower or whatever. Shower's a bit of a disappointment. I was hoping to have a shower today, but it is what it is. What I want to talk about, though, is something that I've noticed, and it has to do with the bank and the digital ID that there will soon be foisting on us. Are trying to foist on us. Some of us won't comply, many will, I know that. But the digital ID and how the bank ties into that. With the digital ID will eventually come the abolishing of cash, of actual paper money that you carry around, you know. Um, yeah, hold on a minute here. Uh, yeah, yeah, this stuff here, this stuff right here. With the abolition of cash, this will disappear. Now, when this disappears, that will only leave electronic currency. And any of you who have purchased things in stores using a debit card, and I believe we've all done that, at different times. Some people exclusively do that. Anyone who's done that, though, has found that the bank charges a fee. And if you run a business, the bank charges a fee to you as well for accepting a digital payment. So every transaction, the bank gets its cut. Now, when you spend cash, like today I went and I bought some things and I paid with cash. The bank didn't get a cut of that. The bank couldn't charge me 60 cents per transaction like it does if I run my card through the system. I just paid cash and the bank didn't get a red cent out of me. That's a pretty good thing, really. I mean, see, cash is freedom. Believe it or not, cash is freedom. If we lose cash, then we become totally dependent on a government-run system in coalition with the bank. And the bank's going to make a bloody killing off of that. And that's why they're pushing for it like they are. The bank really doesn't want to deal with cash. It's an expense to the bank to deal with cash. The electronic stuff, the bank makes money on every transaction. Cash transactions, when you're dealing with the bank, they cost the bank money. The bank don't make any money when you spend cash in a store. And when you go into the bank and you withdraw money from your account or you put money into your account, that costs the bank money. The bank wants cash gone just as badly as the government does. And of course, the government wants it gone because it's a control issue. The two are working hand in hand. See, the banks are going to be part of the new digital system with the digital ID, the digital programmable currency, and the social credit score. That's all going to be, the banks are going to be mixed up in that, and the banks are going to make a lot of money out of it. So they're gung-ho for it. They want it. It's bad for you and me. It's good for them. As individuals, we will suffer for it, but it's good for them. I had an incident at my bank about a year ago. Now, a year prior to that, or 2 years ago, if we're speaking from today, the bank started to require everyone to show their driver's license to do any transaction with the teller. So anytime I went into the bank, my bank card that was issued to me by the bank was no longer good enough. Now get this though. Still good enough at the teller machine. I can do my banking at the machine, and it's still good enough there. But I can't do my banking at the teller's wicket, without showing a driver's license, my driver's license. Now here's the thing. When the digital ID comes in, the driver's license will be integrated into that, along with your banking information, your medical records, your educational records, your criminal record if you have one. All of that will be integrated into one thing. Be a one-stop shop, basically. Also, when I first had a bank account, and for many years, my passbook was good enough as identification. As long as I had my passbook with me, my bank book, that was good enough. Then they issued a card, and they did away with the passbooks. The two overlapped for a while, and then the passbooks disappeared, and it was just a card. But again, the card was good enough for identification. I had to run it through their machine. I had to type in my security code, and then I could bank. Now, I didn't object to either of those things, because those are documents issued by the bank to identify me. So I didn't have an issue with that. And plus, it wasn't tied in with other documents that had nothing to do with the bank. My driver's license should not be connected to my banking in any way. The fact that the bank wants to make my driver's license connected with my banking is disturbing to me. And it isn't to protect me, as they say. Like I said, I had this incident at the bank. I'll tell you what happened. I went in there. Now, I had been refusing to show my license, and they were getting kind of pissy with me about it every time I went in, but they were still doing the transactions. It's just that they were letting me know they weren't happy about it. And one day I go in, and I'm doing a transaction. The teller asked me for my driver's license. I refused to give it to her. And the teller says, "The bank has noted your non-compliance, and it shall no longer be tolerated." That's what she said to me. Talked to me as if I was her servant. I did not get a bank account I've been banking with the Bank of Commerce, Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, since 1977. I got my first bank account when I was 9 years old. 1977. In 1977, when I signed up to have a bank account, I did not sign up to be a servant of the bank. I did not sign up to be a slave to the bank. And I sure as hell did not sign up to participate in any kind of a crooked government globalist digital identification scam. Something designed to put me into a trap and to enslave me. And shame on the bank for trying to do that. But this is what they're doing, and it isn't just my bank, it's across the board. In this country of Canada, this is what goes on. When the trucker convoy occurred and they wanted to freeze people's bank accounts for supporting it, the banks were all for it. The banks were, yeah, let's do it. Yeah. They didn't have to do it, but they did it because the government asked them to, and they were all horny to do what the government wanted them to do. And so they stabbed their customers in the back. Whatever you may think of the trucker convoy, and I know some of you listening may not approve of it, the bottom line is the banks still stabbed their customers in the back. They showed that their loyalty is to the government and not to their customers. I think that's a sad thing, but it also showed us where we stand. Anyway, the bottom line is, I am the dog and the bank is the tail, and the same is true of the government. I am the dog and the government is the tail. The tail does not wag the dog, and in my case, it's not going to. I'm not having that, you know. I'm not going to be a dog being wagged by my tail, having my own tail wag me. That's not how this is going to work. Um, so it puts me in a bad position, though, because if I need to deal with the bank teller for any reason, it puts me in a bad position. Because in the end, you know, the whole infrastructure is going to side in with the bank because they're all in it together. If the police are called, I'm the one who's going to be in trouble. I'm going to go to jail if the police are called on me because I insist that the teller serve me without me providing my driver's license. Likewise, I will be debanked. I might be debanked for making this video. They're doing that now in this country. If you express opinions that that the government or the banks or whoever doesn't like, if they don't like what you're saying on social media, you can be debanked. That's a thing now. They made using the bank necessary, and now, of course, we're all slaves to the bank. But that's not how it's supposed to be. And I stand on that it's not supposed to be that way. The government and the bank and any other thing like that, they're supposed to be here to serve us. Like I say, I did not sign up to become a slave to the bank in 1977, when I signed on the dotted line to say that I would like to have a bank account. I did not sign up to be a slave to the bank. I just didn't. And so here we go. We got all kinds of crazy stuff happening here in this country, all kinds of censorship bills being passed to shut us up. You know, we can't have people talking about what's going on. Have you ever noticed that when you're dealing with a predatory person, the last thing they want is you telling on them? You know, a little kid gets molested by a pedophile. The pedophile says, don't tell anybody. It's our secret. Don't tell anybody. They may threaten the kid. If you tell anybody, I'm going to do this, that, or the other thing to you or to your family or whatever, you know. And, or just don't tell anybody. It's a manipulation thing. You know, this is our secret. This is a special thing between us, so don't tell anybody. Or whatever, you know, this is what they'll do. See, that's a predator in action, eh? The schoolyard bully that steals your lunch money. No, don't go crying to the teacher. Don't go telling the teacher on me. You know? And yes, this is what they do. They'll take your lunch money every day and they'll tell you, don't tell the teacher. Don't be a little rat. Don't be a tattletale. You see? Don't tell on me. My former landlord, from when I lived above the Royal Bank in Perth, he was a terrible bully. And if you threatened to go over his head to the board that actually controlled that building, he would say, oh no, don't do that. Well, why not? Well, because then I'll get into trouble, and I don't want to get into trouble. He'd actually tell you that. Well, he'd get into trouble because he was doing wrong. He was treating us wrong. He was stealing from us. He was depriving us of basic services that we were paying for as part of our rent, and so on. He was bullying us. He was cussing us out. He was calling us names. He was threatening us, actually threatening us with physical harm in some cases. You see, and then you get don't tell on me. Well, if people like myself who say negative things about the various institutions, if we're just a bunch of crazy people, a bunch of wingnuts, or a bunch of liars, a bunch of slanderers, and so on, well, we'll be found out anyway. You know, I mean, we'll hang ourselves. Government doesn't need to do a thing. We'll screw ourselves up if that's what we're doing. Why do they care what we say? Look, if I say something and it's defamatory, they can come after me. If I can't back it up, they can come after me. They can do so legally without any changes in the law as it stands now. If I say that Prime Minister Mark Carney is involved in certain things, I better be able to back it up, because if he finds out, or his people find out, or whatever, they can drag me in the court and say, okay, prove it, or you've committed libel, you've committed slander. They can do that. Under the law as it is now, they can do it. So why do they need laws, censorship laws, that can potentially put somebody into prison for 8 years, for 8 years, or 10, or 15 years, or even life in some cases, because they spoke some words that aren't approved to be spoken. They told a story that wasn't approved to be told, or whatever. I mean, it's because they're threatened by the truth. That's what it is. They don't want us speaking the truth. They don't want us talking about what they're doing. Just like the pedophile doesn't want the little kid talking about it. Just like the bully doesn't want his victim talking about it. Don't go telling on me. Don't go telling on me. Well, when somebody says, don't go telling on me, chances are there's some reason why you should be telling on them. That's the bottom line. There I go again with the bottom line. I have lots of bottom lines, don't I? Anyway, when the bank teller said that to me that day, very arrogant, very arrogant. And I just kind of made my blood boil. It was all I could do to keep my cool in that situation. I managed to, but it was tough. I'll tell you that. It was really tough. But when she said that to me, it did two things. It made me, I became very angry, and I had to contain myself. I had to control myself, because my anger, I would have let my anger get the better of me had I not done so. And that's never good. And the other thing is, though, it told me just how bad things really are, and how these people, basically how I'm right to be standing up against this, because there's such an incredible arrogance there, and such an incredible sense of entitlement, and the roles are getting reversed. Those of us who are supposed to be served by these institutions are being conditioned to become servants of these institutions. Basically, we're being conditioned. We're like a dog who's been conditioned to let our tail wag us, which is not how it's supposed to be. Everything is turned on its head. Everything is backwards and upside down. And when the beast system comes in fully, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be, you can't do this unless you comply. You can't do that unless you comply. Do you have the mark? Oh, you don't have the mark. Well, you can't do that then. Well, you don't have the mark? Well, you better get the mark. How are you going to work? How are you going to eat? How are you going to live? You need the mark. You can't buy groceries anymore if you don't have the mark. What are you going to do? You're going to starve to death? You better get the mark. And this is what's going to happen. And then the people who refuse, like I will, they'll say, oh, you're a bunch of religious fanatics. Yeah, what's your sky genie doing for you now? But that's what they'll call God. They do that. I've seen them call God that on Facebook. I've heard they'll say that. They'll call him the sky genie. What's the sky genie doing for you now, eh? You can't even buy groceries anymore. What they don't understand is those of us who know the truth, we'll starve to death before we'll take the mark. The thing is, though, they'll be happy to see us do it. They'll be happy to see us starve to death, because that's how demented they are, these people, And when they take the mark, it's probably going to change something within them and make them even more that way. And that's quite a thing, to think about. And what we saw during the whole COVID thing, that's what we're going to see again. So, yeah, anyway, it isn't good. We need to not cooperate. The more of us that don't cooperate, the better. The majority are going to cooperate, though. I know that. It is what it is, I guess. But all I can tell you is if you take the mark, you're going to hell. If you take the mark, you're going to hell. The worst that they can do to anybody in this life is they can take this life away from you. But then you still have the next life. If you take the mark, you lose the next life. You go to hell instead. So, and that's for eternity. Whatever we suffer here is temporary, but hell is forever. And so you're much better off to suffer here and then be in heaven with Jesus, for eternity, than to do things the opposite way. But people have been conditioned not to believe in God and not to believe in Jesus and not to believe in heaven. The majority of the people in this society figure that this is all there is, the here and the now. And so they're going to take it because the here and the now is going to become impossible to live in if you don't. Anyway, the bank is definitely in on it, and not just my bank, but all of them. And there are reasons for that. There are reasons for that. Like I say, just as far as the bank's concerned, the sooner we get rid of cash, the better. And, then they can collect on every transaction. So, that works for them. Right now, they're losing a certain amount of money because of people like me that are going around spending cash. I do occasionally use my card, but I spend cash whenever I can because I don't want cash to disappear, and spending cash is a vote for cash. Basically, every time you do anything, you're casting a vote, whether you realize it or not. Every time you buy something, you're casting a vote. Every time you make a choice, you're casting a vote. You're voting for this or you're voting for that. If you choose to comply, then you're voting for whatever it is you're complying with. If you choose not to comply, you're voting against that thing. And it is kept track of. They not only keep track of us as individuals, but they keep track of us as a whole. And so it is kept track of. And they do know. They do know who's voted with them and who's voted against them. And there is sometimes retribution for that, for sure. We can't expect everything to be easy. Not dealing with this system, we really can't. And so, like I say, the bank is not getting my driver's license every time I go in there to bank. That's ridiculous. They don't need it, and they're not having it. The only reason they want it is it's social conditioning. They want to get me used to the idea, me and everyone else, that your license is tied to your banking, your driver's license, and so on. And everything is tied to everything else. That's the idea. And eventually they're going to say, well, why not you just get the digital ID? That way, it's automatic that you're identifiable. We do it for biometrics and everything. You carry your face with you everywhere you go. So we all got to do is have a camera there, and the camera just reads your face, and they know it's you, and then you can do your banking. Think how convenient that'll be. You won't have to carry around cards and things, it'll be great. No, it's not a good thing to participate in. Carry your card and use that, but don't set yourself up for this other crap that's coming. It's the same thing with gasoline-powered vehicles, like what I'm driving right now. That this truck I'm driving, the government can't shut it down remotely. I mean, I guess there are certain frequency weapons or whatever that can be used, but even with them, there's limitations to them. With the new electric cars, no matter where you are or anything, they can track you, they can shut you down. They can just say, well, that's it for you. Boop. And your car is not going to work anymore. It becomes a brick. Tesla has actually done that. They've actually bricked clients' cars, customers' cars. Because if a customer complains about bad service at the dealership or they're having issues with the car and they go public with it or whatever, then Tesla just hits the old delete button, and all of a sudden, see, the software that the car runs that is necessary for the car to run, it won't work anymore. So you still have the car, but the car is basically a brick. You can't do anything with it. I mean, they look like friggin' bricks anyway, those things, especially the Cybertruck. Friggin' garbage dumpster on wheels. But the thing is, it won't run and drive unless you have the computer program right.